Hey everyone, breaking news. So Mason Greenwood is set to depart Manchester United, not with immediate effect. They are going to be working with Mason to find the best way for him to rebuild his career away from the club. A lot of announcements from the club, from Mason Greenwood himself, from Richard Arnold, loads to get into here. I'm going to be reading out some of the statements. And listen, no point wasting any more time. Let's get into it. Okay, everyone. So Mason Greenwood is leaving Manchester United. Statements have been released by the club, by the player, by the CEO, Richard Arnold. So let's get straight into it. So what we've seen here is the nature of Greenwood's exit is still a little bit unclear. In a statement, the club said all those involved, including Mason, recognise the difficulties of him recommencing his career at Manchester United. It has therefore been mutually agreed that it would be most appropriate for him to do so away from Old Trafford, and we will now work with Mason to achieve that outcome. Now, what's interesting about that is that it's not he will be leaving with immediate effect or we will be selling Mason Greenwood. To me, that stinks of a loan. It sounds like he's going to be allowed to rebuild his career away from Old Trafford. That's rebuilding. That's not mean he's going to be sold. That doesn't mean he's going to kickstart. He's going to rebuild his career away from Old Trafford. It's that wording, I think, is quite deliberate, and it remains to be seen what that exactly means. Of course, in a statement in February, the Crown Prosecution Service said in this case, a combination of the withdrawal of key witnesses and new material that came to light meant there was no longer a realistic prospect of conviction. That again doesn't mean innocent, but he was found not guilty. And Manchester United statement in full is as follows. Manchester United has concluded its internal investigation into the allegations made against Mason Greenwood. Our process commenced in February 2023 following all charges against Mason being dropped. Throughout, we have taken into account the wishes, rights and perspective of the alleged victim along with the club's standards and values and sought to collate as much info and context as possible. This has required us to proceed with sensitivity and care to obtain evidence not in the public domain, including from those with direct knowledge of the case. Based on the evidence available to us, we have concluded that the material posted online did not provide a full picture and that Mason did not commit the offences in respect of which he was originally charged. That said, as Mason publicly acknowledges today, he has made mistakes which he is taking responsibility for. All those involved, including Mason, recognise the difficulties with him recommencing his career at Manchester United. It has therefore been mutually agreed that it would be most appropriate for him to do so away from Old Trafford, and we will now work with Mason to achieve that outcome. That's the statement we heard at the very beginning of the video. And again, the wording very deliberate. Mason Greenwood's statement in full. I want to start by saying I understand that people will judge me because of what they have seen and heard on social media, and I know people will think the worst. I was brought up to know that violence or abuse in any relationship is wrong. I did not do the things I was accused of, and in February I was cleared of all charges. However, I fully accept I made mistakes in my relationship, and I take my share of responsibility for the situations which led to the social media post. I am learning to understand my responsibilities to set a good example as a professional footballer, and I'm focused on the big responsibility of being a father as well as a good partner. Today's decision has been part of a collaborative process between Manchester United, my family, and me. The best decision for us all is for me to continue my football career away from Old Trafford, where my presence will not be a distraction for the club. I thank the club for their support. Since I joined age 7, there will always be a part of me which is United. I am enormously grateful to my family and all my loved ones for their support, and it is now for me to repay the trust those around me have shown. I intend to be a better footballer, but most importantly, a good father, a better person, and to use my talents in a positive way on and off the pitch. So a very important statement there for Mason Greenwood, recognising why he knows staying at Old Trafford is a problem, taking responsibility, also trying to shed some light on what he's been accused of, what he was charged of, things that may have been misconstrued. Again, a lot more information is going to be coming to light on this. In addition, and finally, there is a statement from Richard Arnold, the Manchester United CEO, who has had the following to say. Dear fans, Now that we have concluded and announced the outcome of the club's investigation into Mason Greenwood, I want to be direct and transparent with our fans about the process and the reasons for our decision. This was an internal disciplinary investigation between employer and employee, which would ordinarily take place outside of the public eye. Given the public nature of the allegations in Mason's profile, I acknowledge that this was not an ordinary situation. But I felt it important that we still follow due process and, so far as possible, avoid media comment until I had made a definitive decision. When audio footage and imagery was posted online in January 2022, my feelings were of shock and concern for the alleged victim. Her welfare, wishes, and perspective have been central to the club's approach ever since, as have the club's standards and values. While we immediately concluded that Mason should be suspended pending investigation, we were also conscious of our duty of care towards him and the importance of making a decision based on full information. Until February this year, this was a matter for the Crown Prosecution Service. It was only when charges were dropped that the club discussed the allegations with Mason and others involved in the case. Our investigation sought to collate as much evidence as possible to establish facts and context. This was not a quick or straightforward process for a variety of reasons. It was essential for us to respect the rights and wishes of the alleged victim. Also, we have limited powers of investigation, which meant we were reliant on third-party cooperation. Timings have also been influenced by my desire to minimize the impact of the investigation on our men's and women's team, as well as our Lionesses. I acknowledge that this gave more time for speculation, but the alternative would have been to compromise due process or create untimely disruption. While we were unable to access certain evidence for reasons we respect, the evidence we did collate led us to conclude that Mason did not commit the acts he was charged with. He is restricted, or I am restricted, as to what I can say for legal reasons, including the alleged victim's ongoing right to anonymity, but I am able to share the following with you. The alleged victim requested the police to drop their investigation in April 2022. We were provided with alternative explanations for the audio recording, which was a short excerpt from a much longer recording, and for the images posted online. The alleged victim's family participated in the process and were given the opportunity to review and correct our factual findings. Last week, the media reported that we had decided to reintegrate Mason and that elements of a plan to do so had been leaked. Reintegration was one of the outcomes we considered. For context, over the course of the past 6 months, several outcomes have been contemplated. While the ultimate decision rested with me, I was taking various factors and views into account right up until the point of finalising my decision. While I am satisfied that Mason did not commit the acts he was charged with, Mason accepted that he has made mistakes, which he takes responsibility for. Mason would face rebuilding his career and raising a baby together with his partner in the harsh spotlight of Manchester United. It would be difficult. Further, this case has provoked strong opinions, and it is my responsibility to minimize any distraction to the unity we are seeking within the club. Although we have decided that Mason will seek to rebuild his career away from United, that does not signal the end of this matter. The club will continue to offer its support both to the alleged victim and Mason Greenwood to help them rebuild and move forward positively with their lives. Thank you for your continued support. So that is the statements from the club, the player, and from Richard Arnold, the CEO. And I think that last statement is quite telling. I still think that United aren't going to sell him. He's clearly not being removed with immediate effect. I don't think they're going to sell him either. I think it's going to be a loan move to help him rebuild his career, to help guide him. He's still going to have a safety line attached to the club. There's a number of reasons why I think they will loan him. I think they want to keep his valuation on the book for the sale of the club, for the valuation of the club. I still think they might have plans to bring him back into the team in a year or two. But this is going to, split the fans down the middle yet again. A lot of fans, I look at a lot of the forums. Now, these are obviously football related, so everyone on them is football mad and football focused. So their concentration is going to be on Mason the footballer, not Mason the man. But it looks like kind of 60-40, 70-30 in favor of Mason returning based on what I saw in a lot of the forums and message boards. But again, that's just football fans or even just United fans. There was also a lot of messages saying that they don't want him back in the club. And I think society in general, the wider non-footballing community, who also had opinions on this, don't want him to return either. My opinion on it, I think it's good for the club that he doesn't play again, at least for now. I think it'll be a very dark cloud over the club. There's been nothing but chaos for Erik ten Hag since he's arrived, from Ronaldo throwing a strop, giving an interview, being bombed out of the club, then all the takeover bullshit that hasn't really come to a conclusion, then Mason being suspended, then all the crap that's come with that since he was suspended. It's just non-stop, and I think this will close a chapter that's needed to be closed for a while, or at least is going to put this on pause while he rebuilds his career, maybe at a tier 2 league, tier 3 league. He might go to France, Italy, maybe Germany, maybe Turkey. I doubt he'll go to Saudi. I don't think it's at the required level for him to continue his development for the caliber of player he is and at the age profile he is. I don't think he's going to come on in leaps and bounds playing against that kind of opposition. But we'll see what happens. Either way, I'm just looking forward to United being able to move on, get past this. It is a big news. It is going to annoy a lot of fans. It's going to delight a lot of other fans and people who are not fans as well. It's good news for Sancho and Anthony. I think both of their times at the club could be up by the end of this season if they don't pull their socks up. Both very high-valued players who were not performing as well as a youth product who cost us nothing in Mason Greenwood, but he is not going to be available anymore. So that right-hand side is still up for grabs from Anthony and Jadon Sancho. That's it for now. If there's anything else to be attached to this story, be sure that we're going to bring it to you. If you'd like to like this video, please do. If you're still watching, please give it a like, give it a subscribe as well. It means a lot to content creators to get those subscriptions. Hit that notification button as well if you'd like to get immediate updates as to when I'm going to be releasing new videos. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.